Today is the day we've been waiting for. Hockey is officially back. The first game's actually underway as I start to record this video, but we still have some more signings news to talk about, some waivers news, and some additional trade rumors as well. The trade rumors we're looking at involve teams like the Florida Panthers, Columbus Blue Jackets, Ottawa Senators, and Colorado Avalanche. We'll jump into that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. So as I mentioned, very exciting day for hockey fans. The NHL is officially back. The first game started with the Penguins and Flyers. They're in the first intermission actually. As I record this video, Mark Jankowski of the Pittsburgh Penguins has the honor of scoring this season's very first goal. Certainly not a player many people would have picked for that first one, but being on a new team and coming off the year he had last year in Calgary, I am sure he is quite happy to get one early for the Penguins. Now, jumping into today's news, we have a variety of things to talk about. As I mentioned, there's some signings, waivers news, there's some new captains named, and some trade talk as well. Now, first up, let's talk about the new captains. We have the Detroit Red Wings earlier today announced that Dylan Larkin will be the team's next captain. Obviously, a pretty good choice in my opinion. I've made videos usually about once or so a season on who will be the next captain for any teams that have a vacated position. Detroit's held off for a while for doing this ever since Henrik Zetterberg was unable to continue playing, so it's been a while since they've had somebody wear the C in Motown, and I've thought for a while that Larkin was going to be that guy. So not a big surprise. He's arguably their top player. Was a very high draft pick. Been there for a while. Signed to a longer-term contract. So I think he checks all the boxes and certainly meets a lot of the criteria there. So I think they made a wise choice. Now when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, they get the name not only a new captain, but the first ever captain in franchise history. They've been in the league a little while now, and they've never done so. So they've gone ahead and named Mark Stone the first captain in team history. And of course, if you look back at the video that I made talking about next captains, he was my pick for them as well. Mark Stone is a terrific leader, has a lot of energy, plays with a lot of enthusiasm, certainly a guy you can rally behind. Arguably the best celebrations in the NHL, which I know really isn't a big factor, but just the facial expressions he makes and just how you can tell how passionate he is for the game. You have to love it. I know, and from somebody who follows the Senators closely, I've followed Mark Stone through his whole career, and this is something that's a great honor for him and certainly well-deserved. Got a long-term deal. He's been there for a long enough period of time now that I think it's worthy of putting a C on his jersey. They've announced as well that newcomer and top free agent signing Alex Pietrangelo, who's a former captain himself, will get an A, along with Riley Smith. So those will be your alternate captains in Vegas. So a terrific addition, terrific choice there to finally have a captain. And Mark Stone, to me, is your prototypical captain material. It's strong two-way game, certainly leads by example. I'm so happy for Stone to get that honor in Vegas. So great choice by the Golden Knights on that. Now, we had a few other small signings as well today. The Capitals announced that they've officially signed Craig Anderson to a one-year contract at league minimum. He will require waivers to be put on their taxi squad, though. He's going to be signed mainly to be their number 3 goaltender. And, of course, so he's on the waiver wire today. So there is a potential there that he could get claimed, although I think it's probably unlikely, but you just never know. Waivers have been a little bit unpredictable lately with some guys getting claimed that you wouldn't think and other guys not getting claimed that you thought would have. So we'll see how that goes. But Anderson is officially a member of the Capitals and on their taxi squad, at least for today. We'll find out at noon Eastern time tomorrow if he stays or has been claimed by any other team. We also got the contract for Travis Hamonic in Vancouver officially made as well. That is a one-year deal, $1.25 million. So a pretty good deal there for Hamonic in Vancouver. Said it was basically a dream come true is what he said to play for the Canucks. So obviously Western Canadian boys seems to be a place he's quite happy to be. So he'll likely play a lot with Quinn Hughes. Like I said, play a similar role that Tanev did before and see how he fits there. But should be a decent addition for Vancouver. Players on waivers yesterday, which included Islanders forward Leo Komarov, as well as Carolina Hurricanes goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic, both cleared. I'm a little bit surprised on Nedeljkovic, especially in Edmonton after they lost Anton Forsberg to Carolina. I really thought they might pull a fast one on them and take their goaltender and Nedeljkovic going back the other way, but they did not. So he does clear, and they'll both be assigned respectively. There are more players on waivers today, including Par Lindholm from the Boston Bruins. Of course, as I mentioned, Craig Anderson as well with Washington, Kevin Connaughton as well in Florida. I believe he was also on a PTO, which means he's getting a contract if he's going through the waiver wire. Devon Shore in Edmonton as well is on waivers. He signed a 1-year, 2-way contract, and he needs waivers, so we'll see if he ends up sticking around. You get Boo Neves in Tampa. He's on waivers. He got a new contract today as well. And, of course, Dmitry Timashov with the Islanders as well. So we'll report back tomorrow and see if there's been any updates on the waiver wire, if anybody else has been claimed. But, of course, all rosters were submitted by 5 o'clock Eastern yesterday. And, of course, the NHL did put out a release earlier today kind of confirming who was on the main rosters, taxi squads, etc. So that should be available online if anybody wants to check it out. One other thing to note as well, and I was quite curious to see what youngsters from the 2020 NHL draft would be sticking around. We know that the first overall pick, Alexis Lafreniere, he's going to be playing with the Rangers. He's on their main roster. You had Tim Stützle with the Senators is on the main roster. He's playing a top 6 role, or expected to at least to start the season. But one player that's actually didn't make the cut and is going to start the year in the minors is Quinton Byfield, the number 2 overall pick, the top center that went to the Los Angeles Kings. I found it a little bit intriguing. I wasn't sure what they would do in that regard. They did end up keeping another center prospect who's really been around for a while, but has battled a ton of injuries. That's Gabe Vilardi. It was nice to see Vilardi make the roster. And, of course, as we know, the Kings have a very deep prospect pool. But I thought maybe Byfield might get a taste of the NHL early on to see how he fits before they decide to send him down anywhere. But he is starting in the minors. So, based on his play at the World Juniors and then going to there, just, not to say he won't turn out to be the dominant center he is expected to become, but I do think he's a prospect, and it's probably fair to say that he just might take a little bit longer to get there than some of the other guys like Lafreniere or even a Tim Stützle. So we'll see how things work out for him. I just thought that was an interesting note here to start the season. Now, as I mentioned, we have some trade talk for today. A lot of this comes from Elliot Friedman's latest 31 Thoughts blog. He does talk about Pierre Luc Dubois, who's the hottest commodity around the NHL in trade circles. We know that the Jackets have kind of made him deal with it publicly with his teammates. I know John Tortorella was kind of fond of that and how they handle things. But we're getting reports that there's upwards of about 20 teams that are really, kicking tires, and some are really serious. According to Friedman, the teams he mentions in his blog that are being serious is the Montreal Canadiens and the Winnipeg Jets. Now, it's a little more surprising on Montreal's side. Now, I do understand, like I said, I mentioned this before, the desire of why he would be appealing to them. It just really boils down to the asking price. I mean, some thought that the Jackets might be looking for Kotkaniemi and Suzuki, and if that's the asking price, then you hang up the phone and you move on. In my opinion, you're going to have to give up something of value, yes, but you're not going to give up your 2 other top center prospects. Suzuki's not much of a prospect anymore after the way he played last year, in my opinion, but still, really, you're not going to do that. They do have plenty of other prospects as well that would be intriguing to Columbus. I would think Romanov's an untouchable as well, but, we'll see what happens in Montreal's front. To hear that the Habs and the Jets are very intrigued and very serious, not surprising. Like I said, the Jets makes a lot of sense as well. They did draft Cole Perfetti, but, he could turn out to possibly be a winger. He did play wing a lot at World Juniors. He could be a center at the NHL. It's difficult to say where things are at right now, and he's going to need a little time to develop, where Dubois is already fully established, ready to roll here. So not a shock that they're in the mix. And I've seen other reports from other sources really saying that the Rangers are heavily interested as well, which is, again, not a huge surprise. As good as the Rangers have come and they really have developed a lot, that number 2 center spot is one of the main areas of need for them too. If they could have Zibanejad and Dubois down the middle, that would be a much greater, stronger lineup than what they have today. So we'll see what happens on the Dubois front. But according to Friedman, teams are not wasting any time with making serious offers, and we'll see how quickly things possibly materialize. Now, another note here on Keith Yandle, of course, another player that's been brought up a lot in the last couple of days. It does look as though that Florida has basically said that they're kind of done with him and that they don't intend to play him. They don't see him as part of their top 6 in the blue line. I've seen the comments from many of the viewers. I understand defensively he might not be the best. I get that. But I think he is strong enough to be a top 6 defenseman with the Florida Panthers. They've clearly brought in some other defensive help here in the past few days as well. So to kind of cut his streak that way by sitting him out, just to me seems, I don't know, I'm not real fond of it. I know that he's got a full no move, and they've asked for him to give them some flexibility on where he goes. I know it's rumored that he would like to go to Boston, which is where he's from. Unfortunately, it does look like his streak for the Ironman streak here will be coming to an end likely due to being a healthy scratch, but we'll see when the Panthers play their first game if they're going to do him that way or not. Now, another player to keep your eye on would be Ottawa Senators, one of their top prospects, Logan Brown. He just got cut again. He was a high first-round pick, a few years ago now, and he's yet to really get any serious regular NHL time after going through another training camp, one that he said that he had the most dedicated summer for training. He said he really honed in on training and really had more time. So the fact that, he didn't make it again, it's just another telling tale of how they really feel about him. Obviously, Logan Brown's a huge guy. He's like 6'6". He's a guy that was drafted with a lot of potential. I know Pierre Dorion was ecstatic to get him. He even moved up in the draft to make it happen. But after all these training camps and lack of opportunity and being again sent down to the AHL, there is word from Ottawa media that they feel that he could very well be available, find himself on the move. It's just a matter of the Sens finding the right deal. Wouldn't be shocking if they're looking around the NHL at other teams that might have a higher first-round pick player that might be in a similar boat that hasn't really panned out the way they were hoping, and could maybe use a change of scenery, a fresh start, and see what they can do on that front. Now, and another team I want to talk about quickly as well in trade rumors was the Colorado Avalanche. Obviously, they've got some youth in their lineup on the back end. They have some guys like Cale Makar, Sam Girard, Devon Toews. And, of course, they have up-and-coming defenseman Bo Byram. Now, Byram's not expected to be a regular in the lineup from the beginning of the season, but it is expected he will get opportunities as the year goes on. And it is quite likely at some point here that they could move another defenseman to kind of make room for Byram. Although I personally wouldn't be shocked if it's something that they kind of hold off on. But it is mentioned in Elliot Friedman's blog, and I've seen it mentioned elsewhere as well about the Avalanche maybe trying to find more of a spot for him to kind of create some space to move somebody out. And the defenseman that keeps coming up is Ian Cole. Cole still has some term on his contract, but really they have a lot of young D back there. He's a guy who could be very, very valuable in the playoffs, get a lot of great experience. I'd be a little surprised if they moved him early on. I would think maybe heading into next year, it's a possibility. But it seems to be coming up a lot lately, so I thought it was worth mentioning that the Avalanche might be a team who would decide to make room for another young stud defenseman coming up the ranks here. Obviously, without junior hockey being available, a lot of these younger players are kind of hanging around the NHL and getting more opportunities, and they can go to the AHL as well until junior hockey starts up. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be shocked if the Avalanche hold off on this, though. And I do agree with who it likely becomes. You're not going to move Makar. You're not going to move Girard. You're not going to move Toews. You just got him. They're giving Connor Timmins more of an opportunity right now. He's young as well. And, of course, Byram's there. Cole would be likely the guy that they would move should they want to make more of an opportunity for Byram. I'm just not sure they're going to rush into that, given the youth on the back end now. And they probably would want Cole for another playoff run, I think, really before they really consider doing that. But the Avalanche are a team expected to be very competitive for the Stanley Cup this year, and they're going to need a lot of help on the back end to really be able to get through the long battle there and make it happen. So let me know what you think down below about everything discussed today, and we'll discuss further in the comments. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.